Hi everyone, my name is Tavengwa. I'm doing a podcast here with Victoria Tswamuno. First, gonna do our introductions. My name is Tavengwa. I'm a public health professional, a writer, and I run Faith Tavengwa Foundation. And then I'm gonna leave it to Vicky to introduce herself before we start.
Okay. Hi guys, my name is Victoria and I'm mostly in women and girls empowerment. My background is mental health, so I do a lot of work in mental health support for individuals, communities, and families. And I run a lot of projects, especially in African communities, supporting women who have gone through different traumas in their life. So if you want to know more about the work that I do, you can connect with me on social media platforms.
Okay, wonderful, ladies. You can find us on Instagram, where Vicky is active there, and on Facebook as well. So we're gonna start with our first question. We decided to talk about marriages and relationships because it's a very big subject in our everyday lives. So our first question, discussing in a way, what is causing discomfort in marriages or relationships? What do you think, Vicky? What have you got to say about that?
That's honestly very broad, and I think that there's really no uniformity in what causes discomfort in relationships or in marriages. I think there are so many different factors, and one of them would be, I think, globalization. I think now that we have lost our cultural identities and how we used to manage our relationships from a more family-centered and cultural standpoint, and now we have so many experiences or connections with the outside world. And I think that really tends to affect how we value our relationships and how we manage our relationships, because we no longer consult within the family, we no longer consult within the elders, those who are gatekeepers of the relationships, but now we consult social media, we consult other people, we consult. There's just so much noise around us that there's no longer that depth and that ability to say, okay, where do I get my information from? Where do I get my advice from? And so the sources that we use, I think, are contributing a huge amount of negative impact on our relationships and marriages.
Wow, that's a wonderful point, So meaning that is a clash of the generation, because when we were growing up, we used to see our mothers being close to our dead relatives, or and being close to aunties. Whenever there's an issue, they approach the aunties. Whereas now this new generation is now saying that, oh, we can manage our in our own way. We see things, we see posts on celebrities about relationships, we see posts on social media, so they don't see the need to sort of like cut that process of contacting aunties when there's an issue. Oh wow, that's a very good point that you raised, because sometimes, as much as we try to run away from it, culture is a very important part of our lives. We have to follow culture, because sometimes we may feel like we don't need those aunties, but when something goes wrong, that's when we see that these people, they're very important. Oh, that's a very wonderful point that you said. As much as I want to go on about it, but I think we're going to discuss on the next question. It says, what is causing marriages or relationships not to last? So what you said as well applies on this one. But then on my side as well, I've written things of differences in values and beliefs. Yeah, because people sometimes, when we meet people, we're just excited about love, and sometimes we forget to check about the way we think about certain subjects. So then when we're inside the relationship, then we start to see differences, and then we start to wonder, oh my God, I never checked this. So just the way you see life is totally different. So that can affect a relationship as well. And and goals clash. The other one wants to do this, the other one wants to do that, and the goals are not making. We're not saying that it has to be the same thing, but there has to be a balance there, so that at least as a couple you can work together, not like feel like you're splitting. The other one is doing their own thing, the other one is doing their own thing. That's why this thing of saying, you hear stories about a woman who buy land or a house separately as a secret, and the men will do their own thing as well. These are the causes as well. It's because sometimes as a woman, maybe you can see that, oh, maybe your man is not being responsible with money. Let me just save my money and buy my own house. or the men can feel the same way as well and say, my wife is not really, you know, supportive, or she's not really responsible. Let me just do my own things, maybe with my family, buy my own lands without telling her. So which is not good. And then finances as well is causing a lot of problems. Could be that the other one is heavily relying on the other one as money, or both of you have got money. We're saying, you know, like, I've got my own money, you've got your own money. And so it can be used in a good way or in a bad way. And then other one I listed, like relationship, family meddling into the relationship. It can be in a good way, it can be a bad way. Some families, when you get married to them, they're very close, you know, no one is so close, but nice to other people, so welcoming. When you come into the family, they treat you like their own daughter. You know what I mean? They don't make you feel like unwelcome. So it can be in a good way or can be in a bad way. So it depends on the woman or the men, how they feel about the family as well. And then sometimes alcohol as well, sometimes causing problems in marriages. If someone doesn't control the alcohol intake, most of our Black African couples, marriages are not destroyed by alcohol. The men, maybe, for example, if it's a man drinking, achienda out, you know, and not giving enough time to the woman and the family, all those things they can cause. Stubbornness in general. A lot of people are stubborn. Stubborn is good in a way, as long as it's in the right subject, stubbornness. But if you want to make things work, you have to compromise. But sometimes you can say, yeah, I'll stick in my own ways. No one can tell me what to do. And the other one, same. So how are you going to work things out if you don't compromise? So that's my own way of seeing things, what's causing relationships not to last.
Yeah, I think you raised almost all of the points. And I think you talked about substance use, alcoholism. And I think that there's just really that one thing that we as African communities or African cultures, we don't really address mental health, right? Like when things start to happen in a relationship, for instance, you start to experience maybe financial struggles, or just maybe you are married and we're trying to have a baby and you can't conceive. Like all the different things that happen within a relationship come with some sort of mental strain, right? And so that mental strain, we don't know how to address our mental health concerns. And mental health concerns are not just, you know, the issues of bipolar or, you know, those, you know, issues that probably need medication or further support, but it could be stress, it could be depression, it could be anxiety, it could be just so many underlying issues that have to do with mental health. And because we don't know how to deal with that, you find somebody, maybe they are now resorting to alcoholism as a way to cope. They are now resorting to, they're now resorting to, I'm not going to be told what to do. I'm going to be defensive. I'm not going to communicate. Sometimes people have so many issues that they are dealing with. And because they have not built the right foundation of communication within a relationship, when somebody starts to experience those issues, relationship yenyu makapinda asi amuna kugadzira the right foundation yekuti how do we address problems, how do we communicate, how do we talk about things, how are we open and transparent about our lives as individuals, and how do we also identify my support systems in. So those things are not in place in a relationship. So you find so many people are in a relationship, but they are struggling because they don't have a good support system. They got married for the wrong reasons. They don't have the right resources. They don't know how to fight if there's a misunderstanding. They don't communicate. And sometimes they don't even like each other. Like you're married to somebody, but you don't like the person that you're married to. Because, like I said, you got married for the wrong reasons, because maybe peer pressure, everybody saying you should get married. And sometimes maybe you like the whole Instagram Rora squad and you're like, you know what, I'm missing out on something. I'm going to also participate and do this. And so there's just so many
It's quite
issues.
broad, Wow.
Yeah, so I think you have to be able to kunanganiza kuti inini marriage yangu haisikushanda, what are the areas that are affecting my personal relationship, and how can I address and identify those?
Wow. And you said a good point about mental health and depression, because most of the time, the way we're growing up, they put pressure on men to say, as a man, you have to be strong. So speaking out was seen as weakness. So it's very hard sometimes if a man is not ready to speak out about his feelings. So they book in those feelings in the end. Alcohol, just to numb that pain, go away with friends, but they can't face the problem. They don't want to talk. They don't want to approach aunties, uncles to sit the family down, like what you said. If you follow our culture probably, because going to drink it just numbs the pain at that moment, but after you still go back to the same. We need help problem. Sometimes I think it's important. That's why maybe relationships in the past lasted, because we seek help from aunties, more guys.
Exactly.
Both sides. One-sided. Okay, one-sided means nowadays you can just say, as a woman, call my mother will speak to you. The men will not gonna respect you. It's better just to call both sides, so that I think sometimes men they want to listen to their side more than your side telling them what to do. They will think that you want to control them, and it causes further problem. And another thing that I'm thinking that I didn't mention before, lack of patience. Nowadays, people are not patient. Any legal problem, like bye-bye, like let's just end it. Especially if people are financially stable, both of them, no one's relying on the other. So what if I go to beg here? So any legal problem, like what you said about Nyaemwana, if maybe it takes a while to have a kid, someone might not be patient, especially us as Africans. Most of us are Christians. They will believe in God. They don't have time to wait. They just want things to happen. And it can cause people to split, because the men will think, I can't waste my time. There's other women out there who can give me kids. So it just takes a lot of commitment. People are just rushing in and rushing out, sometimes rushing as well.
Yeah.
When you rush in, you rush out sometimes as well. So yeah, that's wonderful. We're going to go into the next question. It says, why do most of us ignore red flags or overlook things before settling down? So the things sort of like keep coming back to the same answers in a way, because you mentioned something as well about pressure. So that one answers that as well, which is sometimes it's pressure about age. When you say you think, oh my God, I'm this age. Most of my friends are married now. Like what you said, you see on social media, auroras and all that. You think, oh my God. So whatever guy you meet, you think this one has to be the one by force, by fire, by force. This has to be the guy. Even if you're not sure, even if you can see the red flags, you can see that, but George seems to be abusive. But let's see, maybe it will change. Somehow you just brush it off and say it will change, but you can see signs of abuse. You just numb it and at that time and say, no, he will change. Or he's cheating on you. Maybe he's dating many women. You just think, oh no, he will calm down once we get married. So meaning that we pull away the problems and say we'll see later. So what have you got to say about that, Vicky? What do you think?
I think you said, most of it, reason, like you said, my red flags are repo, and sometimes, I guess I can maybe just go back a few steps back. Sometimes people don't even know what is a red flag. Right, so somebody could be like, oh, red flag, I didn't see the red flag because I didn't even know that this was something that I should be concerned about, or something that I should really try and also understand what does that mean, what are the implications of whether it's a behavior, whether it's an action, or whether it's a character trait, or whether it's something to do with family. So sometimes people need education around understanding what are red flags, how do you see them, how do you understand them, how do you classify them in the list of this is a no-go, this is something that I could maybe work on, or this is something that I should potentially just say this is a no, right? So I think as women, we need education around my red flags, what is acceptable, what is not acceptable, and how do you communicate, or how do you step away from a situation, especially when you have been invested emotionally and physically, and you're so into a person, excuse me, that you don't want to leave the relationship. I think you want to be able to first of all understand, with that same situation, within the teams that a part of me really wants to stay in the situation because I'm so invested, and I've invested my time, my resources, my everything. But when my red flags and relationship, but you're also thinking about, the loss time.
The loss.
We're going to say,
yes, fear of being alone as well.
Yeah, and sometimes the relationship was so publicized that everybody knew that they say John. So now how do I go back to the people and say, me and John, you know what, it's not working out, and it's not me, it's John, and there's no future. How do I take down the pictures from Instagram and their live views, the videos, the reels that we have done, right?
Yeah.
I think that relationship, that a slow and steady pace, where you're engaging with other people that in my relationship, I don't understand how relationship. Say you have a book, say people reading books, educate yourself on these things. Don't just get into a relationship blindly.
Exactly.
Right? Because when you don't know, then you just do things.
Yes.
And also beyond red flags, there are also what are called green flags. Right. So be able
do you care to explain what red flags are? Maybe just help people know what red flags are in this podcast.
Red flags. Red flags, I guess, would be things that you see that are
unhealthy in a relationship.
Unhealthy, exactly.
Manipulative behavior. You see it coming in drops. Yeah.
Exactly. So things that you see in somebody, whether it's a behavior or an action that is questionable and that could potentially be harmful.
Yes.
That's what we would call a red flag. And then a green flag would be something that you see that you can be like, this is something that I can build on. This is a positive. This is a good thing. So you have to be able to understand my red flag, my green flag.
Flags, yes.
My green flags, then you know this is a plus, this is a plus, this is a plus, and this is a good relationship to step into. So just know these things, educate yourself and know these things, and ask other people. And I say if they're married, they write my books, they know these things. Don't be embarrassed.
People are scared to ask it. And I always say to myself, there's no perfection out there. There's no perfection. But if someone is maybe at least 80% green flags, then you know that you can work with that. There's no perfection. The only time I would say, the only time when I'll say you cannot tolerate, even if 80% is good, but if there's abuse there, if especially physical abuse or even emotional abuse nowadays can damage someone's head. If there's abuse, I'll say stay away, because it won't work if you force it to get married with that person. The problem that will come. So I think another issue but let's take our time to get to know the person. But then again, people say there's no formula. For some people, they say they just met and got married straight away and it worked out. So it's just about the person that you're involved with. It's not about the time as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. But then if you feel like you're not sure, maybe you still have questions, give it time. If you see that, okay, John is a nice guy, but I think I still need to get to, because that sixth sense, we should listen to it. We tend to ignore that sixth sense by always sends us warnings all the time. Let's not ignore that sixth sense that tells you that something's a bit off, So it's always different for everyone and depends on who you meet. Our next question, number 4, is why do you think it is important to check your fiance's family before settling down?
I mean, I think, because I'm African, I think culturally when you're marrying, you're not just marrying one person, you're marrying the whole village. The family, I can say, is a part of the package.
Yes.
So if you just say, me and John, we're getting along, he's a nice guy, and the vibe is great, and the feelings are there, and everything is correct, and then you don't know family. Once family has a part of that relationship, and you didn't check, and you didn't see a good connection and how do you mesh and how do you relate to them, then that's when you begin to see their influence and their impact in the relationship, because they're essentially a big part of the relationship.
Yes.
Or my challenges, the people that know your partner very well and that have been a big part of his life are his family. So that is an extension of who he is.
Yes.
So you can even observe and understand. Because I'm not gonna actually pretend that, or actually, I say once you spend a bit more time with his family, you're able to understand, to read them, to see their behaviors, their attitudes, and you can also just deduce, based on family, I can no believer.
Yes.
I can't really say he can't be that different, right? There has to be some similarity. So is this something that I want to marry into? And am I able to subscribe to their values, their belief system, their way of doing things? And then you make a decision based on
whether you can
understanding
take it or you can leave it. Yes. Yeah, and another part of what I was thinking is that a lot of issues that women have as well, what I see in women groups, they talk about the closeness between their husband and the mother. But all I can say with women is, me, myself, as a mother of a son now, I've got a little boy, the way we are so close, I believe that every mother feels like that about their child. So when that child grows up and it's time to get married now, so somehow maybe the woman start telling, oh, your mother is making too much in our relationship. But this is the thing, when we started, we're so close. So now how are you going to come in and tell me not to be close to my son again? So as well as yourself, you're a woman, one day you have your own son and you wouldn't want that to be done to you. But then on the other hand as well, in that close relationship as well, let it be in a good way. Not those mothers who end up frustrating Varora just because they love their son so much. They frustrate Varora. I don't support that. So I think I always think, when you see that woman that's been chosen by your son, take it as your daughter so that it makes life easier. Then the men must create a balance between the love and love, because it's different kind of love. So is the men's as a girl, if you are dating a guy, you have to check can he balance that? Because also mangwana kuti wakurisana nemurume kuti how come your mother is like this mother, then murume otanga kuudza, this is my mom, this one is my mom, she gave birth to me, you can't come in between me and my mom. You don't want a man to tell you. Once you start fighting about this kind of things, a problem. I've been my history, if you read my book, I've been through that kind of thing. I never fought it because I knew that this one is not my place to even mention anything, even though I saw that there was this closeness, controlling sort of, the mother was so dominant. So then I told myself, no, I'm a woman as well. I have to be careful how I handle this issue, because I don't want this to be me tomorrow. You can't win that battle as a woman, because if the way you win that battle is if he stays away from his family. When, let's say, there's fights between you and the mother, the man has to choose. If he chooses you, you're in big trouble as well. Why? Because it's not nice as well to just be you and him only. Like you say, that it takes a village. The whole family you are now married to the whole family. You don't want a situation whereby it's just you and him. You get frustrated with each other with no support or blessing from his family. It's really, really hard. So I think everyone should compromise. And another time, sometimes you can marry a breadwinner. Someone will find that he maybe is the one paying for school fees, my siblings is doing a lot. So as a woman, you have to choose and think, can I handle this as well? Because you don't want to come in as well and start saying, oh, you're wasting a lot of money on your family. You don't know the history, you don't know how these people were like. Maybe they suffered a lot. And that your partner, your fiance is saying that when I grow up and be successful, I want to make sure that my family is taken care of. I don't want any woman to come in and come between my family. So as a woman, you have to study that as well to see where does your husband come in? Is he a last born or is he a first born who's a breadwinner? We have to look at those kind of things, causing a lot of commotion. Maybe you want new hair, you want a new weave, cost 300, and then him is saying my mother doesn't have food or my brother needs school fees. Now it's a fight. And then don't depend on Nemare Murume, have your own income, so that you don't have to monitor every little bit of, every cent Murume, you need to have your own, because it can't work, because we come from different families. If you love someone, you have to them the way they are. It's a package, like you can't say, oh, because is now married to me, everything has to stop. He has to stop paying fees. He has to stop being a breadwinner. It doesn't work. That's why it's important to study first and check his family so that you know what you're getting yourself into. So it's on both sides as well. Men have to do their checks as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Men have to do their checks, because I've heard a lot of stories now of a mother-in-law meddling into relationships until or influencing the daughter, to do dodgy things to the husband. So you have to be careful as well as men, what kind of family you are marrying into. You have to make sure they're not doing dodgy stuff and all those kind of things. You have to be careful as a man. Choose wisely, choose right, take your time. Like we said, nowadays, due to social media, you just meet your guy, you just start posting, looking good and everything. You don't even think about all those things until
exactly.
Until last minute, okay, these people, they're not good people. they're behaving, they don't like me, they're just behaving. But you've made all these big plans without checking. Let's not be careless, guys. You know, you have to do your checks. Listen from us, you know, we've experienced this kind of thing. Listen to your sisters who've been married before, or people in relationships, you know. It's not like when they're advising you, they're being jealous or something. They just want you to learn from experience. But then again, they say experience is the best teacher. So some people, they don't believe in being told or being advised. They just want
to experience.
Their own experience. But well, we'll still speak and just try to advise people, you know. Yeah. And then lastly, it says advice on how bad decisions are affecting our kids. So do you want to start or want me to start?
No, you can start. You can start.
Okay, okay. What I can say is that in this issue, from experience, I think if you don't make good arrangements at any situation, it can affect the kids, because like I was saying, Guti, sometimes we rush into things and do all these careless decisions. Boom, next thing you're pregnant, kids involved, or whether be it in a relationship or be it in marriage. So now when maybe there's kids involved, you start to realize that, oh my God, George is not good for me. What do I do? The kids are already here. What are you going to do? So now you start accepting, oh my God, this can't work. So what am I going to do? So I wouldn't force someone to stay in a relationship which is not good for them for the sake of saying, oh, there's a kid involved and all that. So if you are able to financially be stable, take care of your own kid, or marriage, your kind of relationship, I would advise people to just make sure that they break up in a civil way. Try to break up in a civil way. And I still go back to your point about involving family. So if you are struggling, involve the family to make sure that there's good arrangement, if you are breaking up, because I see a lot of people bitter, you know, angry with each other to the point you block that path of saying, you won't ever see the kids again, because one, he cheated on you or he did something to you. So the punishment that is coming, you won't see your kids. So I think it's not a good behavior, because when come choose a kid is born, if he's not abusing you or he's not like a dangerous person like that, let him see his kids. You can be angry for a while, but make an arrangement. Make sure that you know, because I don't think it's healthy to just say lots of women are doing well. They're single women, you know, financially stable, managing, they can take care of their kids and all that. So sometimes we think, if I can manage, I don't care about Babayana. He can go to hell, move on with his life. Me, I'll take care of my kids. But what I've noticed in my own kids, you know, like I was divorced from my ex. So like I noticed that had I blocked that path, my kids will be so damaged, because the love that the father gives them, I cannot give them that kind of love that he gives them. The way he does things totally different from me, and they need that balance on both sides. So I just want to encourage women, no matter how angry you are, as long as there's no danger of abuse or anything to the kids, let them see their father, you know, because a lot of our bad decisions, because the way you see good now is not good for you, that means you want to block. Being a father and being a partner or being a fiance is a totally different thing, because being a father is natural. Those people, they share blood. So if you block that path, you know, when they're teenagers, they'll start hating you while you block the relationship, because now they grow up and start looking for their father. The father will now say their version. What happened between me and your mom? Then all of a sudden, where you've suffered maybe for 18 years taking care of that child, and then at 18 years he just changes. Hey, you didn't want me to see my father, you're controlling me like this. So we have to be careful sometimes on how we handle things as women beings, as in relationships, or whether sometimes there are situations whereby women they are not nevana, and to punish that woman or say you'll never see your kids again, stop that woman from seeing the kids. So I think let's not use kids to hurt each other or to revenge after relationships goes wrong. So this still goes back to our wrong decision. When we choosing, we have to be careful, because sometimes we're so careless to the point of muna umziwe boom pane vana, and what do you do now? So I'll leave it to Vicky now to say, hey, that's our last.
I think you said most of it. I think for me the biggest thing is, before you even, because you have to first of all make mad decisions that are informed, do your due diligence, do your research, know your person, know what you're stepping into, and also understand what is parenting and what is having kids and what does that entail, right? Because I think a lot of people have kids mentally, emotionally, physically, and financially prepared for the responsibility that's going to come with having kids. Once you have kids, it means that there's so many things that you have to shift about your life. My needs are my activities are, so many things have to change. And even when a partner, if it happens that you guys have irreconcilable differences and you decide to separate, if you were married, you also have to be able to separate your misunderstanding and your ability to not be able to work things out, separate that from the kids. Like, the kids are not a part of that conversation and are not a part of that conflict. What he did, what she did, what whoever did is not about the kids, right? So making decisions based on me and you hate each other, we absolutely love each other and we don't want to stay together, but what is best for the kids, and how do we create an environment where we can still support the kids independently of our differences? So I think that being able to reach a certain level of maturity, and again, I'll go back to seek mental health support, because I think sometimes when people are dealing with divorce and dealing with whatever my decisions, there's a lot of trauma and there's a lot of things that people cannot get past. You need sometimes that professional support where family therapy, marriage therapy, divorce therapy, just going to speak to somebody. Even as a couple, separator, you can still go and have therapy. You can still even go with the kids so that the kids are able to understand the whatever decisions that the parents have made has nothing to do with us. Because sometimes kids carry that burden and always feel like, oh, this happened because of me, or something that I didn't do, or something that I did. So you want to always make sure that you are having open communication. If the kids are kura, they should also be always involved in my communication around me and your mom. We didn't have whatever relationship and that had nothing to do with you. And they also want to see you being cordial, respecting each other, engaging like human beings. If you have drama and you have other things really ugly, do it away from the kids.
You see?
But I would advise you don't do it. But then if you decide to do it, then let it not be something that the kids have to experience.
Yes. Wow, wonderful. That's great points. I hope you guys will enjoy this podcast. Me and Vicky, we're gonna do a close down now. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add on everything that we said. Let's just a round off, Vicky, before we.
No, this was great. I mean, hopefully you guys can, the purpose, I think, of this podcast is to have conversations. So it doesn't mean good to me and say, my expert. I'm not married. I don't know that much about relationships, but this is just based on the information and the knowledge that we have. So feel free to reach out and tell us my experiences and the things that you have learned and the things that we can also learn on, and also the things that you want us to talk about, so that we can continue to have this conversation.
Yes, guys, it would be nice to get in touch with me and Vicky. If you got any topics you want us to talk about, we just want to help each other. Like Vicky said, we're not experts. It's just how we see the world in our own point of view, one from experience and what we see happening in our community. And so we want to just help each other and not hide away from these issues, because as well speaking, people are going through a lot, in these relationships, and some to the point of like thinking that, no, I'm gonna, to the point of suicide. So we don't want that. We want to know that let's speak about things. It helps talking about these things and not avoiding them, not sweeping them under the carpet and saying, no, let's just ignore this. So we just want our community to be supportive to each other. So find us on Instagram. Thank you so much, Vicky. Thank you.
Thank you, Faye.
Thank you for today. Thank you, my dear.
You're welcome.